Welcome everyone to the exciting journey into the world of Google App Engine. In this hands-on lab exercise, I will guide you through the essentials of developing, deploying, and scaling application on this powerful Google Cloud platform. Google App Engine offers a seamless and efficient way to bring your application ideas to life without the hassle of managing infrastructure. Throughout this lab exercise, I will guide you step by step through the development process, starting with setting up your development environment and creating your first applications. Once your app is ready, I will walk you through the deployment process. You will witness the magic of seeing your application come to life on the cloud with just a few simple commands. By the end of the video, I'm sure you will have the skills and confidence to build, deploy, and scale applications on Google App Engine. Remember to pause the video whenever you need more time to follow along with the lab exercises. Happy coding! Let's get started. In this video, the agenda within the 20 minutes, I'm going to walk you through the introduction, App Engine environments, App Engine component hierarchy, comparing standard and flexible environments, build and deploy an application in Google App Engine, which is a hands-on lab. Then I'm create multiple versions of that application to showcase splitting traffic between these multiple versions. And finally, with closing notes. Let's get started. App Engine is a fully managed serverless application platform with a very simple administration. You write your code in any supported languages or run custom containers with a language and framework of your choice, like Node.js, Java, Ruby, C#, Go, and Python, and PHP. Afterwards, once your code is ready, you run gcloud app deploy. Boom, the application is running in Google App Engine. App Engine handles the work of uploading your code and running it in Google Cloud. It seamlessly scales from 0 to millions of requests as your app grows and popular. You can host different versions of your app and split the traffic between the two versions. Then you have a fully managed environment where you can focus on your code development while App Engine manages the infrastructure concerns. App Engine environments, it has two, standard and flexible. Let's take a look at the standard environment. App Engine standard environment is based on container instances running on Google infrastructure. Containers are pre-configured with one of several available runtimes. The standard environment makes it easy to build and deploy an application that runs reliably even under heavy load and with large amounts of data. Applications run in a secure environment, allowing the standard environment to distribute requests across multiple servers and scale servers to meet traffic demands. Standard environment languages and runtimes. It supports Go, Java, Node.js, PHP, Python, Ruby, which we have seen in the prior slide. Instant classes. Instant class determines the amount of memory and CPU available to each instance, the amount of free quota, the cost per hour after your application exceeds the free quota. And finally, quotas and limits. Standard environment gives you 1 GB of data storage and traffic for free, which can be increased by enabling paid applications. However, some features impose limits unrelated to quotas to protect the stability of the system. Let's take a look at the flexible environment. The App Engine allows developer to focus on what they do best, like writing code. Based on the Compute Engine, the App Engine flexible environment automatically scales up and down while also balancing the load. You can customize this runtime by providing your own runtime by supplying a custom Docker image or the available languages being supported. Customizable infrastructure. App Engine flexible environment instances are Compute Engine virtual machines, which means that you can take advantage of custom libraries, use SSH for debugging, and deploy your own Docker containers. Performance options. Take advantage of wide array of CPU and memory configuration. It has a native feature support. The features such as microservices, authorization, SQL and NoSQL databases, traffic splitting, logging, versioning, and many, many more. They are all natively supported. Managed virtual machines. App Engine manages your virtual machine, ensuring that the instance's health are checked, healed as necessary, and co-located with other services within the project. Let's take a look at the component hierarchy. The components of an application. Your App Engine is created under Google Cloud Project when you create an application resource. The App Engine application is a top-level container that includes service, version, and instant resources to make up your app. When you create an App Engine app, all your resources are created in the region that you choose, including your app code along with a collection of settings, credentials, and your app's metadata. The diagram illustrates the hierarchy of an application, Google App Engine app, running in multiple services. In this diagram, the app has two services that contain multiple versions, and two of those versions are actively running on multiple instances. If you look at services, use services in App Engine to factor your large apps into logical components that can securely share App Engine features and communicate with one another. For example, an app can handle your customer requests that might include separate services that each handle different tasks such as API requests from mobile devices, internal administrative type request, backend processing. And look at the versions. Having multiple versions of your app within each service allows you to quickly switch between different versions of that app for rollbacks, testing, or other temporary events. Instances. The version within your services run on one or more instances. By default, App Engine scales up your app to match the load. Your apps will scale up the number of instances that are running to provide consistent performance. And look at the app request. The service is like a microservice, as I stated. Versions, you have multiple versions. Then basically like instances, multiple instances scaling up and down in, for each version, you have multiple instances running on that service. If you look at the application request, each of your app services and each of your versions within those services must have unique name. If you look at this application request, it's a version of that application, .service, which service, and the project ID and the region ID. That's how the URL will be available. So you could access your application through this type of an URL. Let's compare the standard versus flexible environment in more detail with the multiple features. Instant startup time. In standard, it takes seconds, whereas in flexible, it takes minutes because it has a virtual machine, right? And maximum request timeouts. In standard, it depends on runtime, whereas in flexible, it takes 60 minutes. In standard, there is no SSH debugging, but in flexible, yes, we do. Scaling. In standard, you have manual, basic, automatic, whereas in flexible, you do not have basic, you have manual and automatic. Scale to 0. In standard, yes, but in flexible, you should have minimum of 1 instance. Deployment time in standard takes seconds, whereas in flexible, it takes minutes. Supports third-party binaries. In standard, it's limited, but in flexible, you have full control. You take advantage of the way you want it. Using Google Shell Editor, I'm going to build and deploy an application. The architecture of this sample application is using Firebase. Firebase offers a variety of key features: real-time database, authentication, cloud storage, hosting, cloud functions. In this example, I'm going to walk you through the cloud functions. Firebase allows you to write and deploy serverless functions that run in the cloud. These functions can be triggered by events such as database changes or HTTP requests. For example, in the Firebase, I'm using my mobile app. Through that mobile app, I'm going to use the post method to update the data. So that URL, it toggles to the Firebase application that's created. Then it routes the data into the other devices and synchronizes the post data. So underlying what would happen is it is connecting to the Google App Engine and secures the data, stores the data in an object storage, and then it maintains the integrity over there. It supplies the data after the changes are done. So it is the file base for each request, the post method. It uses Google App Engine as a microservice application. So an application in mobile app, you have hundreds of calls. So each call would be treated as each one microservice. So each microservice may have any of the CRUD functions like create, like post method, put method, get data, all these things, right? So using this app engine, I'm actually collecting the request. Based on the load, I can scale it out. So using the Google Cloud Platform, I'm going to do it. So in this exercise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a simple application and deploy it in the Google App Engine. So I'm going to take, let's say, get method. Let's take a look at it, how I can able to create the get method. To build the app in Google App Engine, I need to log into cloud.google.com. I already logged in. Now I go to console. In that, I want to create a new project. So even if I click on this, I click on the new project. I would say my new app engine project. Everything will remain same. So it's creating a project. The project has been created. So now let me select the project. On the top upper hand side, you see this, I'm selecting my new app engine project. In that, I click the dashboard. In the dashboard, in order to access the app engine, the select, I specify app engine. And you see this application settings, application engine, which is a managed app platform. Click this. Now I'm going to create an application. Create this application. I'm choosing my location is US Central and my service account is the App Engine default service account. Click next. The project page, it takes me down to the resources page. In that, the predefined language is Python. If you click on it, there are a bunch of other options. I'm choosing Python code because I created a sample Python, and the environment is standard. I don't want the flexible. Let me create standard. Then, you see on this top right hand corner, you have a button. I need to click on it to activate the Cloud Shell. Let me click this. The Cloud Shell is activated. So now I'm going to click the Open Editor. Click the Open Editor. So this is the Open Editor. I'm going to open my folder home /Rajanvia. Click on this. So here, there are a couple of options. I create files directly here, or create the directory or folder directly here using these two buttons. But I have already created my Python code using PyCharm Community Edition. So I have that folder already available. So what I'm going to do is, so this is my, let's say, I'm dragging this file and I'm just dragging and dropping it over here. So if you look at it, that file has been placed inside Rajanvia, my home folder. There are three files: app.yaml and main.py and requirements. Let's get into the requirements. It's using the Flask 2.0.2. And if you look at the app.yaml, I'm using the runtime of Python 3.9. If you look at this main.py, this application is a simple web application. It takes two input integers and then it calculates the sum of two integers that I supply in my web page, then it display in the following page slash or forward slash sum. So basically this is a very simple application, and it runs on the port 8080. So I copied these three files underneath. So now you go here in this, or there are a couple of ways to do it. I can go to the open terminal. In this open terminal, it's a little bigger, so probably I prefer to use this. Here I'm underneath home Rajanvia, so I'm going to my folder. So now I'm under my first app using GAE. The three files are already there. I copied. One simple command that I should use to deploy this application is gcloud app deploy. So if you look at it, the source, it is taking my first app using GAI, and the descriptor is taking app.yaml. The target project is the Hassle Planet, which is the one I just created, and the target version is this, and the target URL. So after this application is deployed, I use this URL to invoke the application which I just created. So I click Y. Look at this, application has been deployed successfully into Google App Engine, and the deployed service is, this is the URL. So I copy this URL, then I go into another browser window, enter. So this application is invoked. It is having a simple web page. It's a form, and it's asking for two integers. So I'm going to supply the first integer 500, and the one is, let's say, 499. Let's submit. Boom, it navigates back to /sum, and it gives me the result of 999. So that's it. This application is as simple. This is the URL I deployed, and basically that is how we actually invoke the application in microservices. So now I want to make changes to my application in such a way. For example, I go to my main.py. I would like to add another field asking for another integer. So I'm going to make changes. So I'm going to field identifies num3. Nice. Here I'm going to copy the same code, but instead of num2 I'm going to change to num3. Now let's save this. Now before I go and deploy, I want to showcase how the component works, right? So remember the earlier slides, I showed the hierarchy diagram for the App Engine components. Let's see, run a quick command to check the app services. Right beneath application, we have services. So you have service, which is default. This default is nothing but if I go to the app.yaml, and I haven't specified the service here, so if I don't specify, it automatically takes that as a default one. Going to the next one, which is gcloud. So I want to check the versions. So right now I have the default version, and also the version which is the v2. Also check the instances, that is the last one in the component hierarchy. So it's using this instant ID is this, it is running in progress. So now I made the changes to this application, so I'm going to deploy it now. There you go. The application, the new version v3 has been deployed. Now I want to run a command. So when I choose gcloud app browse, it is picking up the most current version, which is running, and it enter the number. So 100 Third number is also 100. Let's submit. The code is actually working. There is a small cosmetic error. So that's basically the difference. So if I go back to this URL, see both the URL are yielding the same one. So what does that mean is the URL which I supplied is basically the most current version URL. But if I want to go back to the prior version, I want to check, I also can able to check it. In order to check that, I need to have that URL for that version. So how to do it? So gcloud app browse. Instead, I'll check versions list. All right. So you see this, I have version, this is the default version because I haven't supplied another, which we consider that as a V1, and the version 2 and version 3. So let's do something. If I want to pick in this version URL, I need to type a command gcloud app browse version. There you go. For this version, it is bringing me a different URL. So I click this. Now, when I click it, it goes back to the one version older. So it is taking only 2 numbers. So that's basically the fundamental difference between application deployed into App Engine. During the change, the App Engine automatically maintains the version after I deploy it. So I can go back to any specific version and pick up that URL, and you could give it to the load balancer to do the validation. If the development team is working on the older version, they could still do it. And if that older version is in production, you could still use the same URL. So that's basically how this Google App Engine works. One little thing that I want to showcase to you all is basically going back to the dashboard in terms of how to split the traffic. If you go to the dashboard, in that dashboard, I'll go to my App Engine dashboard. Here underneath, if you look at services, this is the default service. It's having the 3 version. For each version, you see when I click on this, it automatically navigates to the URL. So if I don't want to run CLI command, I go to that dashboard underneath each navigator item, so I can go back to that specific version. I could access it. And if you look at the traffic, 100% of the traffic has been allocated to only V3, but I have 3 versions available. So in order to do the routing based on the versions, I could do the traffic allocation for each version. So how can I do it? It's simple. So I go on click split traffic, and this version, I will say, I will add a new version. This version will have, let's say, 50%, and this V2, I'm going to have another 50%. So if I do, it's basically changed to 30. So I'll go to 33. So that's the case. I'll go back and save. Go back to this. So now you see each version has a set of traffic allocation given. So this is so important and critical when you want to route the traffic based on the specific version. So this is it's a clear evidence that using both CLI command, also through the App Engine dashboard, I could play around with each versions and also the configuration settings. So in a nutshell, this is the basics of creating an application in Google App Engine. So we are coming to the conclusion. So we created this application. You have experienced the thrill of bringing your ideas to life and witness the seamless power of Google App Engine. Remember, the Google App Engine's automatic scaling feature allows you to application to adapt to user-friendly effortlessly, right? But remember, this is just the beginning of your journey. Google App Engine offers a vast array of features and possibilities waiting to be explored and utilized. So keep learning and experimenting and pushing the boundaries of what you can achieve. Thanks for joining me on this fast-paced adventure through Google App Engine. I hope you feel inspired and motivated to continue honoring your skills and creating remarkable applications. The future holds endless possibilities, and with Google App Engine, you are well equipped to embrace them. Best of luck on your coding endeavors, and may your app flourish and delight users around the world. Happy coding. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, share, and certainly subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.